All right, welcome back, Egyptology lovers. Today we are doing plate 33 of the Book of the Dead of Ani. This is chapter 151 and is one of the most variable of all chapters of the Book of the Dead. In respect to its text and vignettes, its component scenes are an attempt to represent the mummy of Ani lying in the burial chamber along with all the elements necessary for the protection of the corpse inside the tomb. The composite vignette is certainly one of the most iconographically rich representations of the entire papyrus. Since Egyptian art is essentially aspectual, the illustration shows the most characteristic view of things rather than their appearance in reality. The vignette is a schematic representation of Ani's burial chamber with its furnishings and attendant deities, who will protect Ani at this critical moment. Each component vignette, except for the central one, which you can see right over here, the central one, and the one below it, is accompanied by text. The general purpose is to ensure that the preservation of Ani's physical remains. So every one of them has a text to it except these two. The central scene depicts Anubis, which is very popular and seen quite often, attending Ani's mummy as it lies under the embalming tent, shown here as a stripped canopy. So you can see the embalming tent. A stripped canopy right there. The appearance of the mummy rather than Ani's actual corpse in this context can be considered a form of visual euphemism. Underneath the lion's headed bier, a piece of funerary furniture connected with the embalming of the dead, are the three jars which presumably contain materials needed for Ani's mummification. So you can see here. So this is a bier. It says seat with lion legs and the three biers underneath, and they're pretty much used for the embalming process, the three jars. To the left of this central scene is a figure of the Isis kneeling with her hands upon a shen ring. So right over here, kneeling and holding a shen ring. A symbol of both protection and infinite repetition. The Egyptian's name is derived from the word which means to encircle, to go around, used extensively to describe the eternal circuit of the sun. The cartouche, which protects royal names, is essentially an elongated shen ring. So this shen ring is small, but when you stretch it out, it looks like a cartouche, which has the royal names in it. At the right, the goddess Nephthys kneels in the identical position right over here. So the sisters, the two sisters, and that's Nephthys also holding a shen ring. In the three divine personages, there is an allusion to the legend of Osiris, wherein these gods protected the revived Osiris after he had died. So you can see all three of them protected Osiris. So Isis and Nephthys were there when they revived Osiris after Set had killed him. The four standing figures at the corners of the block of 9 interior scenes of this plate are the four sons of Horus. So these are the four sons of Horus right over here. The personifications of the canopic jars in which the internal organs of the deceased are kept. They are, of course, deities who protect the body. Unlike their uniform appearance, which they all look the same, in other instances where the deities occur in this papyrus, they have 4 different heads, allowing one to distinguish them without reading the accompanying text. So in the example here, you have their heads all identical as human-headed heads with beards. But in reality, they have actually different type of heads. So for example, you have Happy, which is indicated by their name Happy. He has a baboon head. Okay, Besenuef has a vulture head. This is Imseti. He actually has a human head, so he gets to keep his head. And then over here you have 𝑄𝑖𝑚𝑢𝑡𝑒𝑓. And there here you have like Anubis or a jackal head. So that's how you distinguish them. Now directly above the mummification scene is a jet pillar. Right over here. An object associated with Osiris and signifying endurance. The accompanying text mentions not only Osiris, but also his protection, perhaps a reference to the various protective amulets placed about the body. The scene below depicts Anubis recumbent on a shrine with a flagellum emerging from his back. So here he is, recumbent, Anubis on a plinth, and he has a flagellum here on his back. He is Anubis in his aspect, he who is over the secrets. So basically he sits above the secrets. An epitaph which refers to his concern with the embalming equipment. The collar about his neck is a stylized form of the Sa sign, right over here. The Sa sign. This word appears several times in the chapters for the amulets in the preceding plate. In front of Anubis is a scepter which means power or might, with 2 minnat collars dangling around from its side. So you can see here the minnat collars. This is also a symbol to give as well. To each side of the central block of 9 scenes are 2 roughly symmetrical strips, both containing representations of 3 subsidiary figures. In the middle of each group is a representation of a burning torch. So you have one here, burning torch, formed by oil soaked in pieces of twisted cloth, which is then lit. In the top registers, so now you have it over here. So this is oil with a twisted cloth, and then it's lit. And then over here on the very top are two representations of Ani's ba, perched on the plinth-like shrine and facing towards a gesture of adoration. There you go. And then at the very bottom, it faces inwards, are the two shaktis, of funerary figurines. The text that accompanies these objects is a version of chapter 6, the Theban Recension. The name spell normally inscribed on actual figurines of this type. When the deceased recites these words, the shaktis would presumably become animated and perform certain obligatory labors in the afterlife on behalf of the deceased. So the text that you see over here is what is written on their bodies, on these shaktis or ushaptis that you see buried with mummies. And then when the deceased, like Ani, for example, rises, he would speak what he needs to speak by reading it, and the ushapti would rise up as a person and then do the labors for him in the afterlife. More complete versions of this chapter contain an introduction. Also missing from Ani's version are the texts associated with the magical bricks, protective objects placed in the walls of the burial chamber. So when you brick up the wall, each brick has a magical spell. The title given for this chapter in several papyri, chapter for the head of mystery, refers to the mummy mask. In fact, there is an unpublished example of chapter 151 inscribed on Tutankhamun's gold mummy mask. The preservation of the head was considered to be a critical one in afterlife survival, as keeping one's heart. The various brief texts that accompany the component vignettes are sometimes quite garbled in Ani's papyrus and have acquired a translation based on several other versions. So it's a lot of mixture by this time, where the text has been kind of slapped together and put together in order to make sense of it. But generally that's the theme. So this is one of the more detailed descriptions of how a body is mummified and what are the protections that go around it. So we're going to start reading the text of the Book of the Dead. We're going to start with the very top here. I'm going to read from here. All right, welcome back, Egyptology lovers. So now we're going to start over here. We're going to read from this text over here, and it says, praising or worshipping of Re when he rises in the eastern horizon of the sky by the Osiris Ani, justified or vindicated. So the sun now is rising, so this is moving in a kind of a westward position. The sun rises in the east and eventually will go over here and it'll set in the west. So let's continue here now. Now we're going to move over to the ushapti, which is that of happy. So over here now it says, word spoken by happy. I am happy, your son, the Osiris Ani vindicated. I have come that I may be in your protection, and that I may knit your head and your limbs. I have smitten down his enemies, or your enemies, beneath you. I have given you, so given you, my head forever. Now down here you see these two lines, it means repeat, so you say it again. I have given you my head forever. And now it continues here. The Osiris Ani justified. Now you could see here that they just try to fill up the space. This was pre-written to fill in the name of someone, and then this would be added as well. So it would say the Osiris Ani vindicated or justified. This means repeat twice. So the Osiris Ani, justified or vindicated, in peace. Peace, in peace. So now we're moving over here and we're doing the first flame. Here we're starting right over here. Now this is EU, introduces a new sentence. We don't pronounce it. And it says, I am your protection of this flame. I drive him away from the valley. Now it says, I drive him from the sands and from your feet. For I am the one who drags the sands. And now over here it says, the Osiris Ani vindicated or justified in peace and in justification. And now we continue over here to Isis. Word spoken by Isis. I have come that I may be in your protection. I fan for you air at your nostrils. I fan the north wind, which comes from your nostrils, and which comes forth, here continues, comes forth from Atum. Atum is the self-created God, the first God. You clear your windpipe, or she clears the windpipe for him. I have caused you to be as a god, with your enemies fallen beneath your sandals. And now continuing here, may you be vindicated. So these are together, my haru, which is vindicated, true of voice, in the sky. And may your flesh be powerful in among, this is the word among, the gods. And now we're going down here again. And now we're talking about the Shapti, the very first one that rises and helps Ani in the afterlife. And over here on the very top it says, illuminated one. The Osiris Ani, vindicated or justified. O Shapti, so this is the word for Shapti. Who is accounted, and if Ani is accounted, and accounted to do any work being made in the God's domain, or erected, which continues here, erected, obstacles are made therein, which is in the afterlife, then a man to his duties, so to summon the man to his duties. Now, one of his duties is to grow of the fields, so to grow the fields. So he works in the fields to grow the crops. Now he is also to flood the banks, so during the irrigation season, and to row in the watery or pool banks, so basically to row in the Nile. And then the word of, which pretty much ends the Shapti spell there. Probably just they cut it short. All right, now we'll move over here to the second son of Horus for the protection. This is 𝓌𝑖𝑥. And we're going to start reading over here. Word spoken by 𝓌𝑖𝑥. And it says, I am your son, the Osiris, Ani, vindicated or justified. I have come that I may be in your protection, so that I may assemble your bones. I pull together your limbs, or by that the Osiris, vindicated or true, who is in the place of peace or offering, and who is in under you. So under you. All right, now we're moving over here. We're going to do the Jed pillar. And it starts right over here. I have come seeking you and clothing the living in your brightness of this place, which continues here, or my place or your place. And now it says, I am one who stands behind the Jed pillar on that day of repelling the doomed or the ragged. Now this is EU. We don't pronounce this sentence. We just introduces a new sentence. Then now it says, I raised up in your protection and the Osiris, which is supposed to be the Osiris Ani, but in this case, it's just Osiris. All right, so after that, we're going to shift over to 𝓿𝑠eti, which is the next son of Horus. We're going to go over there. We're going to start right on top over here. And now it goes, word spoken by 𝓿𝑠eti, which is the name of the son of Horus. I am 𝓿𝑠eti, your son, the Osiris Ani, vindicated or justified. And it says, I have come that I may be in your protection. I have caused your house to flourish. This is the word flourish. Now this says repeat twice. So again, you say it one more time. I have caused your house to flourish. And now we continue over here. Just as Ptah has commanded me, like Ra has commanded himself. So that's the completion of that one. And now we go down to Nephthys, which is the sister of Isis on the other side here. And now we're going to read over here. And it says, words spoken by the Osiris Ani, vindicated or true of voice. Nephthys, the name of the goddess. You can see the symbols on her head. It's right over here. Now it continues over here. I have gone around or about and behind my brother Osiris. I have come that I may be in your protection, behind you and your two lands. So protection of being behind and around and the two lands. Bow and raise you, therefore, to be vindicated, or you being vindicated. I knit it, vindicated, for what you have done. Ptah has overthrown or befallen your enemy. All right, now we're going to go over here to the next flame, which is on this very side, and it's going to be read starting from here. So this one is written a little strangely, that it starts from an awkward end at the bottom of the flame, as opposed to the very top of the flame like did the other one right over here. So it's starting a little unusual. So this text is a bit mixed up, and I'll explain a little later some of the errors and details that happen in texts. So let's do that right now. All right, we're going to start over here now. Word spoken by the Osiris Ani, justified. I have come to disarray. Right over here. I will not, now this is supposed to be by itself, not this disarray. I will not allow you to disarray me. Here now over there. I have come to deal harm. You shall not deal harm. And now it's over here. Against me. I am in your protection. All right, so that's the completion of the flame. We're going to go up here now to this saying right here. Now this is for Ra, once again, as you've seen over there. And it's going to basically introduce the setting sun in the west. So over here it is worship. Again, worship of Ra when he sets as opposed to rises in the western horizon of the sky by the Osiris Ani, justified or vindicated, which is together here, in peace and in the God's domain. And then over here is I am an equipped or excellent Ba. And now we're going to move down over to here, which is the final son of Horus, and then we'll do the Ushaptis. So over here now, it's starting with this one. Now over here, word spoken by 𝑓. I am your son, your beloved Horus. Now continuing over here. I have come to protect my father Osiris from one who is allowed to do injury to him. I have placed him under your feet forever or eternally. And this means repeat again. I have placed him under your feet. So that's how it goes. And by repeating twice. And now it says enduringly. And this again, repeat twice. Enduringly. The Osiris Ani in vindication. And this means repeat twice again. The Osiris Ani in vindication and peace. All right, we'll move over to the last Shepti right over here on the very corner. And it says, word spoken by the Osiris Ani in vindication. I am an excellent or equipped Ba who is in this egg of the abju fish. I am the great cat who is in, now we go over here, the place of truth, of which the light shines forth. So that's the completion of this plate of the Book of the Dead, plate 33. Just a couple of notes I wanted to indicate for you so you can learn a little bit how even the papyrus aren't excellent. So for example, we have a combination of retrograde moving from left to right and then canonical form moving from right to left. So for example, here you have left to right, and over here you have left to right, and then over here you have right to left. And then over here you have right to left, right to left, right to left. And then over here you also have right to left, but then it switches over here and you have left to right, left to right, left to right, left to right, and here you have right to left and then right to left again. So you could see the combination of different directions. No particular reason, just maybe the copyists were writing and putting things together. And here you can see that the text is pasted. Now one of the reasons why the pasted from two different sheets. Now one of the reasons you see why these languages are moving in different directions is because where the images have already been drawn prior, and so they're trying to fill in the space by not putting it the way it's supposed to be, but away from the symbols themselves. So they couldn't really put, for example, words spoken by starting over the head of 𝑓. They have to put it over here. And here it's a little bit unusual why they wrote it in this direction instead of working it from the very top over here, like they did on this side over here for this flame. They could have just started the same way over here, but they worked on the corner. So that's very unusual. Again, this is how sometimes the Books of the Dead are made very quickly and hurriedly. So there's an example. So there you go. This is pretty much the description of all the parts of the what is involved and remains with the deceased in the afterlife. The four sons of Horus on the corners, and the Sheptis and the flames, the Bas of the spirits from east to west, the jet pillar, you have the Anubis, you have the two Isis and 𝑓, the two protectors, and then you have, of course, Anubis who protects the secrets as well. So a lot of interesting magical spells here that are incorporated in order to protect the body in the afterlife. So thank you very much for watching. Please stay tuned for plate 34 of the Book of the Dead. Thank you very much and have a great day.